Well, good afternoon. I want to thank the Washington County Public Affairs Forum for sponsoring this event, and for all of you in the audience for taking the time to hear us here at your lunchtime. Over the past 10 years, I've had the pleasure of serving on the Washington County Commissioners, proudly representing the Beaverton, Aloha, and Cooper Mountain area. And in that role, I've been able to and fully supported funding numerous transportation projects, road, bike, and sidewalk projects, including a third lane on parts of Highway 26, which is actually a state highway. Supported and worked on maintaining Washington County's prudent financial course, including reserving somewhere between 15 to 20% on average of our general funds at all times for rainy days, and the county's award-winning accounting practices. I myself have lived a prudent and careful financial basis, and I believe the county should do the same thing and continue that past tradition. Led the county's efforts to create a 30-acre wooded hilltop property in Beaverton, which is linked to the regional West Side Trail, and now leading current efforts to secure funding from a couple of different sources, including from our county, for a terrific natural site in the center of Tigard, and have drafted a suggested budget for our county board to consider to make sure that we spend our local share dollars as efficiently and as carefully as possible on the Metro Green Spaces program. And I've led Washington County in its recent pioneering efforts to end homelessness in 10 years, with a particular focus on homeless families and veterans, some of whom have been living in the hills in western Washington County for some number of years. I've thoroughly enjoyed my 10 years on the board, and I have no plans, have never had any plans to retire from the board, and my commitment to this board and to our county has never been stronger. And that's why I announced on the same day that our chairman made his resignation clear to all of us that I'm running for this position. They're big shoes to fill, but I am ready for the challenge and ready to take it on. Among other things, I have hustle and salesmanship skills. In past lives, I had done a lot of sales work. I think being a chairman is partly about selling this county. I believe I have those skills. I also have the ability to say no without burning bridges or unnecessarily offending regional partners. We're going to need them for any big projects as we go forward. No holding grudges. Don't take disagreements personally. That's kind of part of what politics is all about, and slow to anger. And I have the ability, I think, to think and act out of the box and yet still work effectively within the practical parameters, because after all, politics is about the art of the possible. In my 10 years on the board, I've worked well with the board. I think no one has worked harder to keep the rest of the board apprised as to what I was doing, to avoid surprises. They heard from me before they heard from anyone else the things that I was tasked to do, and things that I heard about, I would let them know to avoid surprises. And I believe I've earned their respect over those nearly 10 years now. I have some strong analytical skills. That comes in part from my years working as a local government lawyer, practicing in that field, representing cities, ports, and special districts. And I believe I've taken a common sense approach to protect the way we live while looking still at innovative ways to get things done, and looking elsewhere for great ideas that we can adapt and use in this county. Some of the key issues. Economy and jobs, obviously, is near the top. I think ultimately the county is not going to be the economic engine for economic growth. I certainly can agree with that part of the statements that you've heard from Mr. Dyke. But I do think there are some things that we can do, certainly on the margins, that are important. Among other things, I think working with Shore Bank and other reputable financial institutions and the Oregon Energy Trust and our local utilities, PGE, Northwest, and Pacific Power notably. The county can and should participate, I think, in a loan program that will allow both residential and commercial properties and owners to borrow money to retrofit their properties to be more sustainable, to be more energy efficient, to put in solar panel installations, and then these loans can be paid back over time through the utility billings. And I think these things will pay for themselves very quickly in a short period of time, and we can put some of our construction trade people back to work in the near term. I believe that we can streamline and provide greater uniformity across our 13 cities and our county in terms of building permitting and even on the more routine land use approvals so that they're more uniform, more streamlined. Hillsborough has been a leader in this area, and I think it should be possible for people to go to different parts of the county and look at similar forms, similar processes in this area. And I think that would be good for efficiency, and I think it certainly make the opportunities for people in the building trade, I think, to be better, as well as our own homeowners. We ought to continue to run a very fiscally sound county and clean water services operation. So, for example, in the case of clean water services, we have been able to offer some of the lowest sewer rates in the region, yet at the same time have run award-winning, nationally award-winning by EPA plants that have done an outstanding job in terms of keeping our Tualatin Basin clean. And in the longer view, I think beyond our current recession, we need to be staying the course on the advice that we had gotten from Joe Courtwright, a local economist who was hired by the West Side Economic Alliance and Washington County a couple of years ago to take a look at our past successes and how we can build on that going forward. And I would summarize his advice to us as the communities that are highly livable and likable are areas that are going to keep and attract outstanding, well-educated workforce and entrepreneurial folks, business people into the community. And I think we need to continue to do that going forward. I think the quality of life and the jobs all will remain closely related also to land use and transportation decisions. As you know, we came on our board from a couple of different directions, but we did agree, I think this is important, that we did agree 5-0 on the urban and rural map going forward. I think most of you know that what we're talking about is rural reserves, the areas that are going to be set aside for rural purposes, forest and farming for the next 50 or so years. And urban reserves are areas that are currently outside the urban growth boundary lines that be the first to be queued in. By any definition, whether people agree with our final decision on the Washington County side of the urban-rural reserve mapping, the actual additions for urban reserves are pretty modest, less than 3% of our existing urban growth boundary territory, and yet we're looking at about 1 million new people coming into this region in the next 50 years. So we're going to have to grow very smart within our urban growth boundaries, and doing that, I think, will have profound health, environmental, and economic implications for us and for our children. We will need to use a silver buckshot approach to transportation. I think that will be very important, both in terms of livability and likability, and the need to be very strategic about where we spend when and where we spend our transportation dollars, and where and how we focus our planning efforts as well. And we should not grow for growth's sake, but carefully and thoughtfully and with full understanding of the consequences. Some of the defining issues, I can tick off 4 today. Climate change, yes, it's highly, highly likely that man is significantly contributing to that, to climate change. And yes, climate change is real. We need to recognize that and moving forward. Certainly in the business world, if the odds were 95% that something is going to happen, we'd be all over that. I mean, those are fantastic odds that we have to work from. Number 2, we must protect scenic natural areas. They are both good for us, for our souls, and for our pocketbooks. It goes back to the issues that Joe Courtwright had raised. My principal opponent was the only one, much less the only elected official, who submitted a statement in opposition in the voter pamphlet statement in the fall of 2006 on the Metro Green Spaces program. And it's a fantastic program, and I think it had already proven itself. And I think that's a defining difference. It's a great program. We should move forward. We're greatly benefiting from it. Timber cutting should not be the principal overriding use of the Tillamook forest. And we should be looking at public art funding as well. To close, I have the relevant work experience, both as an attorney who practiced in this area, local government, and as a third-term commissioner. And I look forward for your support I appreciate your support. I'll look for your vote this spring. And you can find more information about me by looking at supportschouten.com. Thank you so much.